What's up, guys? Foxwolf here, and welcome to the Mr. GLOAT podcast. I'm watching a fun video of a golf video here by Josh Mayer. Golf video game versus real life. It's 1 year old, but that's not the reason why I'm here. Love the Dead Man's Party song. But anyway, guys, ladies and gentlemen, for this competition, there is no competition today, guys. With only a few topics, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, the most topic to this video is William Zepeda versus Shakur Stevenson. But before we get to that, ladies and gentlemen, let's break it down for what's been going on since after July the 11th. To be honest, guys, I will say, though, guys, there is highlight videos of the preliminary fights of the Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor 3. And as I'm recording this video, which is, I think it's the 15th. Yes, it's the 15th. Which has been 4 days, and try to look up on MVP YouTube channel that did their live streaming the first 4 fights for free. There is no highlight videos still of the Ellie Scottney and Marsado, and sadly the Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. They don't even have highlights of Alicia Baumgartner and Jennifer Miranda, or neither Shakur Green and Savannah Marshall. So I question why they didn't show any of that, and considering it's 9:40 p.m. right now, so this might be another quick video, depending if everyone has to go to bed right now, so I don't have to talk loud. I already talked quiet during my week, because, guys, I already did a 2-part podcast that were 40 minutes long. The first one was me talking a little bit quiet at the end because it was actually 11 o'clock, and kind of regretted recording it at that time, but I was already planning on doing the prelims. And ever since doing the pay-per-view, which there wasn't a lot to talk about because, and to be honest, guys, I do like to point this out, guys. During the time when I actually was watching footage and live stream of some people's reactions, and I was trying to find work to write notes in, during the time when after my recording when trying to get involved with many other things, because I was trying to write notes after Marsado and Ellie Scottney, but after 2 rounds of boxing, I had to go to dinner because a family made lunch for me, so I didn't have time to actually come back until 10 or 15 minutes after I was done eating, and even when I ate lunch. But technically I was still hungry, and when I actually saw the final couple rounds of the Marsado and Scottney fight, realizing that Scottney was almost going to win by knockout, I even had to go back and eat lunch again when we were only after when I actually watched the first couple rounds of Savannah Marshall, and I was like, oh yeah, Savannah Marshall is definitely going to win this fight. She was definitely going to defeat Shakur Green. So I went back upstairs to eat more lunch. And then I came back realizing, how did Shakur Green win this fight? And I went back and saw recorded, and yeah. So I didn't write a lot of notes down at the time because I was actually at dinner at the time. So yeah. It is what it is. So I wasn't really in concentration during my last podcast that I released yesterday ago, but at the end of the day, that's not really important right now, other than it was tough when I tried to learn about my own faculties, because everything was going on pretty good when it came down to the Serrano fight, because I came back after dinner was over. I came back and I saw the last 4 rounds of we'll actually make that the first 4 rounds of Baumgartner and Jennifer Miranda, because I was on my phone seeing what the update was, and I was like, interesting. The first couple rounds were different, and I was actually paying attention during the time when I went back to lunch after I was done eating during the second round. So after everything was done, it was like the third or fourth round, I started watching the fight and realizing that Jennifer Miranda was in domination. And I started writing notes down as much. So I didn't have a lot of information to talk about the pay-per-view, not because I didn't buy it, but I tried to find video. I did saw someone recording a live stream camera with their iPhone or something. They put their iPhone on a TV screen, like a giant TV screen that I'm looking at right now of the golf video. And I managed to watch the full fight there. It's just too bad the live streamer actually got rid of it, so I didn't get to see the Serrano and Taylor fight. But yeah, I don't know why Jake Paul or anyone else working for MVP are not releasing highlight footages of the Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano or any of the other highlight fights, because I think it'll be really interesting to see those. For reasons why they only released the preliminary fights like a couple of days ago, I'll never know. So yeah. I don't know. Just seems like my throat is really upsetting me today. Yeah. But yeah, like I said before, it's pretty tough to watch a lot of these, but because it's so bad that there's no highlight footages of anything. So it does upset me that we don't get to see that. But it is what it is. But I just hope we get to see the highlight fights, because it's better than nothing. Still, you should. Also, guys, for our second topic, ladies and gentlemen, I do like to get through this one. Like, probably this one might take about 10 minutes, or maybe I think 15 minutes for me to get through this. So I might be done at the 20-minute mark. I would like to announce a couple things about this topic, and that is the term of bare knuckle boxing. So guys, there's two types of international bare knuckle boxing that's active right now. There is the bare knuckle fighting champions that was introduced to us in June the 2nd, 2018, and it's been introduced since. And they've had a record of over 131 events, and 78 of those are the BKFC 78. Was back in July, just a few days ago, which took place in England. And I saw some of the fights. I saw some interesting stuff. I saw some interesting quick knockout wins here, and it wasn't all bad. Like, I did try to look up a lot of these other names and other weight classes, because these names are on BoxRec. BoxRec does have the KB Pro, which is bare knuckle boxing. And stupid. Sorry. And there's another. Jesus. And then there's another division called the BKB bare knuckle. I would actually call it the hand slap of boxing. Sheesh. I'd rather hand slap someone instead of knuckling someone. Sheesh. But there's another one called BKB bare knuckle boxing. And there's a lot to it. They I got you, you mother effer. Jesus. Sorry. Just relax. Okay. But yeah, there was their first event that they did do back in 2015 called BYB, Battleship 1. But actually, they actually call it a partnership, because the history of the BYB was announced back in the premiere of Battleship 1, which was originally scheduled to be a take place aboard the deck of the Resorts World Bimini Superfest on June the 5th, 2015, with the where would air at the time, shortly after a person named Dog Flight premiered on Netflix. Oh, no, that's just okay, never mind. Wait, what is Dogfight? Dogfight. After Dogfight. Huh, that's something. I haven't heard about that thing before. Huh, interesting. But still, the event was scrapped from the cruise ship, with the organizers citing inclement weather and subsequent held indoors at an undisclosed location, Miami, which is kind of funny. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So technically, it went on a hiatus when it returned into the ring from Bellator 149, where the promotion would host BYB to Brawl for It All. Brawl for It All. Interesting. Not Brawl for All, Brawl for It All. Took place in Cheyenne, Wyoming on April the 5th, 2019 from Cheyenne Ice and Event Center. The event started the current run of the numbered BYB events in states including Florida and Mississippi, as well as internationally in London. And the promoters are online if you want to look them up. They are active promoters as we speak. And guys, when you look up names on BoxRec, it's not a fully active thing to look for, because some of these boxers are not in the division similar. Because guys, BKB, Bare Knuckle, and Bare Knuckle Fighting Champions are just two different promotions. It's the same thing as MMA and professional wrestling, where you have professional wrestling like WWE, AEW, and TNA. And probably some others that are just like underground or interpromotional things, which aren't that not much. They're not to talk about. They're just indie promotions of underground, which is stuff like MMA fights do, and some boxing events out there that are like unknown to the world, that are never televised or not, or on YouTube because no one cares about it. And of course, you have, like I said before, MMA has Bellator, as I said before, MMA such as UFC, or even the Ritz, which is another Japanese promotion, which is pretty fun to talk about. But yet again, guys, there isn't a lot into it. Now, there is videos on YouTuber channel called Vice, the channel that has done the Dark Side of the Ring and other stuff, and Dark Side of Comedy. And they've done a lot of interesting videos. And even before Vice did the Dark Side of the Ring and other stuff, they did had interesting online documentaries, such as titled Underground Bare Knuckle Boxing in UK, which was once regarded as something that happens exclusively in Guy Ritchie films on a gypsy sites, which is just nothing but underground fights where people start boxing around square hay barrels, and it's just that. It's not a international thing, but since 2018 they started getting bigger because of these two events I've talked about, the BKB and the Bare Knuckle Fighting Champions. The thing is, guys, a lot of these names aren't together in boxing. Boxers like Leonardo Perdomo, a Cuban boxer living in Cuba, he's 8-0, undefeated with 8 knockouts. And his last fight was just a few days ago by defeating Arnold Adams, the guy that would start losing multiple fights against great fighters, by the promoter of David Feldman, the guy working for Bare Knuckle Fighting Champions. And we also have the other Cuban fighter living in Miami, Florida, named Gustavo Trujillo, a guy that's just part-time heavyweight boxing. He won a fight against Latif Coyote, and I've talked about him before. And his last fight was in December the 6th, 2024, and his 7th professional win is all by knockouts. Both of these Cuban guys have 8 wins. Well, Leonardo has 8. Gustavo has 7 wins, and all of their wins came by first-round knockout. And the thing was, Gustavo won the fight by retaining his heavyweight champion on the promotional card of Mike Vasquez on the event Brawl in the Pines 4, which, of course, Mike Vasquez also runs the BKB Bare Knuckle boxing, or BYB, whatever they call it. Technically, the partnership with them came on November 2021, when BYB announced a talent exchange partnership with the UK based in the BKB. So they actually they rechanged the series where it kicked off on BYB 8 or something like that. And through 2022, the companies have hosted 15 transcontinental bare knuckle matchups. So it started becoming BKB by that time. So the name's changed, but it seems international. And there's a lot of talk of saying that Dare Chisora would never get in the ring with any of these people. And yet again, yes, bare knuckle is a dangerous sport where your knuckles are the most weakest thing. People understand your knuckles. Like, guys, I have big hands, really big hands, like big inch. They're that big, bigger than my head. But the knuckles are brittle. Your head is the toughest. It's crazy to punch someone with knuckles, even when you have like 2-inch tapes wrapped around. And the odds of someone accidentally poking you in the eye is that scary. And I did saw one fight online that actually proved it, because there's also another boxer out there online that goes by the name of Ben Rothwell from Wisconsin. He picked up his 4th win against Michael Terrell, becoming the BK World Heavyweight Champion on January the 25th, also by a guy named David Feldman. Of course, this was actually an interesting first-round knockout that ended 36 seconds. The problem is Ben Rothwell was 43 years old. Michael was 41, so both of these two guys were past their primes. And it said that Ben accidentally poked Michael by mistake, and then they continued to fight for another minute, and he just settled this huge right punch. Down goes Terrell and won the fight. So, yeah, in his 4th professional fight. And the crazy thing is about this, guys, there's a lot of interesting, talented boxers out there. Like, don't get me wrong, guys, even Arnold Adams, a 40-year-old person from California, born in Alaska, damn, a first Alaskan champion, the heavyweights, even as bare knuckle, that's crazy. He had a great run of being a champion at the time. He suffered his 4th professional fight by a loss against someone by decision, but he went on to become champion against Michael Terrell in 2021, won, defended a couple times, and then he lost against Alan Belcher in February 2023, which was a great story moment. That guy was not much into his prime, but man, seeing him get knocked down and then come back the next round in round 3 and score an amazing come-from-behind victory, that's respect. And sadly, 10 or so months later, Arnold lost against Michael by the vacant heavyweight champion because Alan Belcher retired for good after that fight and lost against Leonardo Perdomo. And that's all we have to say about it. But yeah, so there's 2 different promotionals out there in boxing as we speak. And technically there's other names in boxing that are also surprising. Like, yeah, you have interesting fighters here, like a guy named Aggie Faulkner, a British fighter with 3 fights in his career in 2022 and 2023 and 2024, all took place in the month of November. Go figure. And he scored out wins to become a UK champion. There's also another interesting championship out there that goes by the name of so much. Like there's BKFC Thailand champions, the Police Gazette champions, which is a historical thing back then, which is still a thing right now with these other fighters like Lorenzo Hunt and Johnny Bedford, a longtime fighter. They even have the UK champions, as I said before. And yeah, and Aggie Faulkner is a champ. And guys, you also have these Polish boxers, which is crazy because guess who is also in the boxing world in bare knuckle? Kamil Sokolowski. After this guy retired in 2023 in professional boxing, this guy decided to be almost at 39 years old. He decided to just enter in bare knuckle in January, scores a first-round knockout. Come May, he scores another one. And then in November, he scores another first-round knockout. Yeah, the guy that defeated George Fox, the guy known for arguing with Usyk's team about the body punch and that whole crap thing. Yeah, Kamil Sokolowski is in the bare knuckle business, and he's about to fight in September. So, guys, what am I trying to point this out here? Is bare knuckle boxing a legit sport? Well, as looking at the information and live television, yeah, it is. But should I actually talk about this? Well, guys, I don't talk about MMA, even though I do podcasts of MMA, UFC in the past, and talk about fighters that were in UFC but are now that used to fight in other companies, and it's funny. So there's times that I might not talk much about it, but UFC, just like bare knuckle, is also a sport that's still new since 1993. And it's crazy because even Happy Gilmore has been around for 30 years when the movie came out. Man, 30 years? Doesn't seem that long. And it says that they're making a movie in Netflix that's coming out in the next couple weeks, which might be bad, but you know what? I can't wait to watch the new Adam Sandler film. They said it's going to be on Netflix, but I don't know. Is it going to be out on theaters? That would still be interesting if I watch it. Either way, if it's stupid, hey, it'll give me time to start watching movies instead of just talking to myself every time, as I'm doing right now. So, but yeah, guys, my point is bare knuckle boxing, it's a legit sport for it. So I really can't argue the point about it. I just think we all have to settle down and try to take it easy. And guys, like I said before, guys, bare knuckle boxing on Vice has been surprising because, guys, a few months ago, they just released a new documentary that's 27 minutes long titled The Bloody Brutal Therapy of Spartan Bare Knuckle Part 1. That just came out 4 months ago, and it takes place in north of England of an underground fight club of the Spartan Bare Knuckle. They released the Part 2 documentary as well around that time, and Part 3, which shows a thumbnail of a champion and a friend of his holding the title. They released it. It's actually a couple months ago they actually released it, and it's now known as a full documentary, which is 1 hour and 10 minutes long. And I've already saw the other documentaries that came out some years ago by Vice before The Dark Side of the Ring. So I'm curious to watch this documentary. Like I said, they already released another bare knuckle thing 6 years ago as well. And 11 years ago, I did talk about the first one they released. So Vice is really on point when they're talking about bare knuckle boxing. Like, guys, Vice is known for them releasing documentaries of The Dark Side of the Ring. But this is so different. And guys, there was a documentary that would have came out some decades ago, but it was illegal because they think that they didn't want to release it on documentary because they didn't want to say if there were going to be children watching this documentary and it was going to say, oh, it's a good thing for kids in their backyard or neighbors of them to punch each other because they can punch themselves with knuckles because it's okay. At the end of the day, guys, bare knuckle boxing does throw a lot of problems because of that. And like I said, there is a documentary that's actually banned for life, but who knows? I am curious to find out, so we'll just have to wait and see. So sorry for talking too much, guys, but I think it was probably for the best for me to talk about this, to talk a lot about that, because the final topic of this video, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a not much of a humdinger, but probably boredom, because we have Shakur Stevenson here. Technically, I will say, though, the entire show the match wasn't terrible. We had a fair winner by Oscar De La Hoya Promotions with matchmaker Eric Gomez and Javier Razo, live on DAZN pay-per-view for the New York State Athletic Commission, live in the Louis Armstrong Stadium in Queens, New York. Saturday the 12th, July 2025. We had multitude of fights and surprising victories by returning boxers. Guys, let's talk about Raito Tsutsumi defeating Michael Ruiz. Raito Tsutsumi already picked up his first win on May the 2nd, live in Times Square against Lavelle Whittington, which was actually a pretty good fight because he went 6 rounds the distance and pulled out a great victory. And that had to be the only entertaining fight of the entire show live in Times Square that day or that night, because it was entertaining. I get to see 2 guys that look like Ant-Man and a couple people that were dressed up like Elmo maybe fondle me, Elmo. Well, we had Hulk Hogan holding on to a ring card and showing to the fans. So, but after that, everything was crap. But then a couple months later, Raito Tatsumi comes out and scores a round 2 TKO. Michael Ruiz was 2 wins, 7 losses, 1 draw, and 7 of those losses, well, make that 3, were by KO, and make that 4 with his 8 loss by KO. Because, Raito Tatsumi came out there and just obliterated him. He brought Michael Ruiz down after twice in the first round, went into the second round, and not even 30 seconds into the second round, he brings him down again, and Eric Dowley was like, that's enough. And Raito Tatsumi picks up a win. But guys, the other fights on the show are funny. Now, guys, I don't want to talk about this show as much because it is crazy. But it is crazy to talk about Hansa Shiraz versus Edgar Berlanga. This was the final knockout. Hansa Shiraz went into that fight and he made a good deal out of it. Like, guys, Hansa Shiraz put in a good performance that day. He went into the first round, whether it was a close fight. And after round 2, which was another interesting round, and I thought I had it like 1-1 apiece for both guys. But then you go to round 3, and he just picks up utter domination. And then in the 4th round, Hansa brings out everything he did. Like, Hansa Shiraz went in there and just knocked down Edgar Berlanga. And I thought the fight was over after round 4. And I thought, oh, great. No, okay, I guess Edgar Berlanga is going to survive for the next 8 rounds, man. That stinks. But no. 17 seconds into the 5th round, he brings out a heavy KO victory and wins. So good job for Hansa Shiraz. It wasn't much of a good time this year after that draw, but you got to do what you got to do. He defeated Edgar Berlanga, and even though Berlanga did manage to get a win off to himself that day, so yeah, good for him. Good for him. But guys, there was some interesting things I want to talk about that fight, which is interesting. But yet again, that's not important to the show. It was pretty good for what he was doing. He was in there like crazy. And by the way, guys, I will say, though, I do love the show. Like, every time they show us the tail of the tape, it shows the card screen, or they actually do some editing sequences of the tail of the tape where there's like a skydrome or someone hooking up a camera and it starts moving this way, and you still, like, every time the camera is moving this way, you still see the tail of the tape here, and it's like, guys, the editing and the making of the tail of the tape, and every time you see people, and it's like the tail of the tape is over people's heads, like you can see it on top, when in reality it was just edited, which is pretty fun. I really liked it. It's so funny, and you get to see the names. I think Edgar Berlanga was wearing a watch on his right hand and a bunch of jewelry. That's when I realized, yeah, Hansa Shiraz is definitely going to win that fight. It was awesome. But yeah, the first couple rounds were just decent. But guys, I think when the third round came, because there was a moment in the third round where there was a chance where Berlanga was trying to pull in some new ideas. Like, he was attacking Shiraz during the part of the final round, and Shiraz was handling himself with great combinations. And even though Berlanga was still trying to give him a hard time, even though both of them were over 6 feet tall, they're still in their 20s in their reach advantage. And Berlanga was still trying his best to try to move side to side. And like I said before, the final minute of the fight, like 45 seconds, Shiraz comes in and he sets up an amazing of left and then goes left, right, and left. Down goes Berlanga as he throws his right, misses. And I think Berlanga was upset because he punched the bottom ropes when he was upset and gets back up. And I remember, I think he actually missed the right punch and then he missed the left. And then with 20 seconds left, he comes in, throws out a right uppercut, misses left, and then goes left, and then goes right again, left, and then bam, right again. Down goes Berlanga again. It was bloody. He was in a barrage of punches. Now, of course, did that meant that he was going to be all right? Who knows? Also, David Fields, the referee, not much about him. He actually did push Hamza Shiraz back because he was wondering that he was going to give him a head start, which is almost similar than I think Lucien Butte versus the Mexican fighter he fought when he knocked him down in the 12th round. And the referee just told him to get back. Like, he was just wasting time to end the fight just so Butte wouldn't get knocked down, which is crazy. But yeah, the referee saved Edgar Berlanga for the 5th round. But when they started the 5th round, yeah, he had no business. He was just going, he moves on, he backs up to the left. It was so crazy. The referee, and there's people out in the ring, pushes him, and Shiraz steps up. He's going forward a little bit. And then he sets up an amazing left, right, and then goes for a left, and down goes Berlanga, and the fight's over. So it was a great win for Shiraz. It was a pretty good win in the super middleweight. It was good. But guys, the real fight, well, David Morrell. David Morrell versus Iman Kataev. Oh boy. So guys, David Morrell, I really did believe David Morrell was another good fighter in boxing. Like he came into the boxing world a little bit too early into his career, like in the title contention. Like he was in that fight was pretty much a tough deal. Like he was into the fight like not much. Like after his last fight was a loss against Benavidez, yeah, it was tough. Like the first couple rounds, and by the way, guys, this fight took place before the Shiraz fight, so there was moments where there weren't a lot of people in the crowd at the time, so it was an empty arena, just like Raito Tatsumi's fight, so it wasn't a lot of entertainment. And it was crazy because, guys, the problem about this fight is that you have David Morrell, a southpaw fighter, leading off with his right, while Iman from Australia was an orthodox 5'10", not 6'1" like Morrell, and he was onto his left foot, leading with his left foot, which is an orthodox. He was on fire that night. And there were times that Morrell started trying to dance his way through a little bit at some time at the point, like after the end of the first round, and Iman does not sell it. He just lands heavy punches onto him. And again, he was in a tough challenge. Like in round 2, Iman was scaring off his opponent with the left jab, and then just goes for an uppercut, and then he just starts landing heavy, like throwing multitude of punches, like body shots upstairs, downstairs, and even though Morrell tried to throw some of his a little bit and starts blocking his punches, like it was like Iman was dominating it. And by the end of round 3, when he just dominated another round, which like some of the judges, guys, the judges' scorecards were way off, way off. The judges were too nice to David Morrell. Like, it was so bad. But you know what's weird? In the 9th round, was so crazy because in round 4, like after round 4, which was another dominant round, and then in round 5, because the real test came in round 5, where David Morrell is getting left jabbed, and he starts backing up again. And as he's about to set up his punch, his hands are down. So what does Iman do? Simple. Like, Iman does this. Like, Morrell goes for a right. He goes for a left. He dogs. And then Iman charges at him with a one, bam, right. And down goes Morrell. The ropes protected him, but it was a knockdown. And the replay shows Morrell trying to block his body like this, and Iman just throws this amazing perfect punch. And by round 6, which was another win for Iman, at this moment, it was like, man, I hope the judges aren't screwing this guy up, because even in round 6, which was an interesting close round for Morrell to win that round, but of course, Iman got tired, because in round 7, Morrell just went into competition for himself. And by round 8 and then round 9, where there was a moment that he was getting pushed to the rope, he started throwing a multitude of punches straight into him. But at that moment, there's times that I thought I saw blood coming out of his eyes, but it was pretty tough. And even in the 10th and final round, like, Iman was still trying to throw some punches, but there weren't a lot of punches being blocked by him. Like, he was tired, but there was a time during the final seconds of the 20 seconds of the round that there was a hard punch that actually stunned him on. He gets back into the ropes. Morrell tried to finish it, and I was like, great, with 10 seconds left, he gives Iman enough room to survive. I don't know why he didn't end the fight there or even hurt him there. And he just started missing out jabs and punches a little bit, and bam, the bell rings. And it was weird because Iman did not try to block his punches. He just took them. And then before the bell rang, he gets a turnaround and starts throwing punches at Morrell at the end before the bell rung. It was so bad because I had the fight 96-93 favoring Iman Khalif, the winner of the fight. Tony Lundy gave the fight 95-94 for Iman, which was interesting. A guy from New York. But then here's the funny part. John McKay from Queens, New York, a longtime judge since 1998, gave it 96-93 for Morrell. And Alan Nace, wait, was Tony Lundy from... Yeah, he was from New York. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so just like Alan Nace, they both became judges in 2013 and in New York. Okay. So Alan Nace, also from New York, gave it 95-94 for Morrell. So we have one person that gave it 4 rounds or 3 or so we had John McKay giving it 7 rounds to 3, including the knockout. So technically it was like 96-93 favoring Morrell, and 2 judges had 95-94, but technically Alan Nace had it 6 rounds for Morrell, and Tony Lundy barely had it giving it Iman 5 rounds. So I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they cost another legend fighter. Like, guys, this guy was from Australia. And the thing was, guys, Iman was a light heavyweight boxer, and this guy was 10-0, undefeated, and he defeated some interesting fighters in last year ago with some interesting knockout wins. So seeing him lose against David Morrell, that just generates more controversy. It really is. I just didn't like that fight one bit, to see the judges scoring, because it really upsetted me to see it end that way, because it was just so bad. And by the way, guys, let me play a clip here of the reaction of the announcers scoring the fight. So here's the announcers, and this is how the reaction was. So let me play it.
95-94 for your winner.
Split decision. Yeah, I wish I could find footages of the reactions of the crowd, but I'm still trying to find that. But yeah, look at the reaction. I just don't know why it had to end that way. I still find it problematic there that the fight had to be that. Oh, wait, is this the one? Wait, did Ring Magazine? Oh, wait, Ring Magazine actually released this one. Guys, how about we get to the Alberto Puello versus Sabril Matias fight? It is 10:17 right now, so I'll get this as quick as possible. So this was for the WBC World Super Lightweight title fight. An undefeated Alberto, a southpaw fighter from the Dominican Republic, takes on as well an orthodox Puerto Rican named Sabril Matias. So I think you can tell by a southpaw and an orthodox fighter, it will create some interesting stuff there. But I think when it looks at it, this fight, in my opinion, I'm not saying that this fight was a terrible loss to any of us, depending on who you ask, because there's toughness here, there, but yet again, I really can't say much about it. Is there any? Oh, they don't got the reaction there. Oh man. Okay, well that stinks. So no reaction to the crowd there. Maybe so, but so technically, guys, with all due to respect, I will say though this does have a lot of problem for me to watch boxing. And guys, I will agree with Teddy Atlas when he talked about this on his channel, that this was no walk in the park. And you know what? He was right. David Morrell had to earn this fight, and even though he came back from the knockout, I don't think he's ever recovered from David Benavidez. But this is going to be tough enough for me to talk about, because I don't know if Alberto Puello is going to recover from this loss as well. Both of these guys go 12 rounds the distance. Alberto comes into the first round, wins. And the second round, I believed he had a close win there. Round 3, Matias. Round 4, round 5, round 6, round 7. He wins 5 rounds. We come to round 8, and it looked like Alberto came back a little bit strong, as he would in round 8. But it was a close round that he had a good match there, so it seemed like he did a good job getting that round. And then after that, he dominates the next round, and then in round 10, surprisingly, Sabrillo comes out and does get an easy win there. And just like all of us judges, all of the 3 judges scored the last 2 rounds for Alberto. The thing was, one of the judges had it 114 even, which was Frank Labardi, just like me. I had it 114 even. Tony Paolillo and Ron McNair, 115 to 113, winner, new champion, WBC super lightweight champion, Sabrillo Matias. So what do I have to say about Sabrillo Matias? Well, considering he lost his big victories in 2020 against someone that he was knocked down and lost, even though you would have said he would have won, but doesn't matter. He was a former IBF World Super Lightweight champion. He did win a rematch against a guy a couple years later, and then a full year later, he wins the IBF champion, retains it, and then lost against Liam Parot in June of 2024. But then at that time in November and March those years, he picks up a couple wins that he had to earn, only to become a 2-time super lightweight champion again. So I wouldn't really say that Sabrillo is a great, like, he's a good prime fighter. Like guys, here's the thing. Sabrillo has scored 22 victories by knockout, and his 2 fights that he lost were by decision. So he can go the distance, but depending on how good he can to last a good fight. So seeing him win his first ever fight by decision after 10 years, when he started in December 2015 in his debut, and this is his first win by decision against a tough fighter like Alberto, that was a pretty interesting win. I wish I could get to it more, but I'm not really not going to talk about that. But yet again, considering that Matias managed to do a good job, because he actually did went in there and got a great victory out of it for all that time. So I will say, though, he did actually prove a lot of a tougher fighter than he was. Like even though Alberto did manage to try to finish the fight off strong, but the damage was already done after 10 rounds, so he had nothing left to do. Both fighters did a good job. They tried their best, but at the end of the day, there was nothing much to talk about. It was a good fight. So Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda Sakura. So William Zepeda Sakura, William's last fights are somewhat different than Shakur Stevenson because by November and March, he barely defeats Telvin Farmer, even when he was knocked down in round 4, came out in the second fight and won. And seeing with the 33 wins and 27 knockouts, that doesn't mean that you're a top fighter. Looking back at it, it seemed like he just had no idea what he was going to do. It was great that the crowd were cheering for him and the people were there at the time. He was a great star to help out with the Mexicans. And Shakur Stevenson, 3-time weight class champion, a guy that has been in controversy. Like, I will say though, guys, Shakur Stevenson this year, even not much of an entertaining type fighter, he did manage to put in a good performance and a good fight with Josh Padley last February, and that guy showed himself. And he did an okay job, and he scored a knockout win, so it wasn't that bad of a fight. This fight was different. So, guys, I was looking up about Turki Al-Sheikh and him saying that you should shrink the ring size for each length, which is ridiculous. This was interesting. Like, if it's like after one round, the corner is going to be like from the ring post here, from post to post. You're going to go one round from this. And then after 4 rounds, it's going to shrink from here. And then in round 8, it's going to shrink this much here. And then the 12th round, you're going to have to fight in the middle. Just hearing someone like that from Saudi Arabia talk about that is ridiculous. But the point was, we don't want to see guys running around. Don't get me wrong, guys. Running around is an interesting sport. But if you do it all the time because you don't want to get hit, it just doesn't make you a world champion. Shakur Stevenson got boxed on hard in the first couple rounds by Zepeda, and William Zepeda did put out interesting work. The first round was interesting enough, and in round 2, there was moments where he was giving Shakur Stevenson a run for his money at some point in some of the rounds. And there's times that he would throw back. Like round 3 had to be the best dominant round for Williams' entire night. And round 4 was another close round for William Zepeda. But after round 5 and round 6, which was completely Shakur Stevenson, like there were times that around like in round 4, like he was getting cornered to the rope and William was just hurting him so much. It was like there was a moment in the early part of round 4 where like Williams couldn't stop punching or hurting, even boxing or throwing slow punches on Shakur, and Shakur was staying alive as best he could, just blocking his punches, just waiting for the opportunity. But yeah, and then Shakur finally found some marks in those rounds and started hurting and getting better punches and started blocking him a little bit, and then he started getting some flows in. But after the end of 6 rounds, when I had the score 6-6, it was a completely different fight. In round 7, William Zepeda just couldn't find any mark-ins into anything because Shakur finally got some jabs done and some interesting punches. But there was a little bit of boredom that you would have think because it's a Stevenson fight. But he did actually try to fight hard and try his best to block a lot of punches and then fight back and throw a punch of his own. Like both William were doing a good job. There was a moment in round 8 where Zepeda finally got some offense and started throwing punches at the end. And then he did finally got some marks and so started backing Stevenson to the corner again, as he always does, which was another great round for him. I think round 7 was another round for Stevenson. So after 8 rounds, I had it 4-4 apiece. But the judges had a different scoring system, which in all fairness, not everyone does. barely. Like Kevin Morgan, Glenn Feldman, Mike Fitzgerald. At the end of the day, the scores wouldn't really mean that much. But guys, the last 4 rounds from round 9, 10, 11, 12. Guys, the last 4 rounds and from 9 to 12 is almost like a rendition of what's going to happen, because William Zepeda Segura is like Daniel Dubois, and it's like he's going to get dominated in the final few rounds, while Alexander Usyk is going to finally found offensive at him in the final rounds. Because, guys, every time you watch a Alexander Usyk fight, he just goes into that fight, and in the final rounds, he just completely dominates you easily and wins the rounds. The last 4 rounds is going to be a rendition of what's going to happen in the Alexander Usyk versus Darren Dubois 2 fight in a few days. It's just going to be havoc wreaked all over us. And he just started throwing every single landing punch, and William Zepeda just couldn't get much done. Every time he tried to go forward, Shakur just finally got marks and interesting punches to punch him back. Times when William Zepeda did try to throw a punch, Sakura would actually punch one back. He goes for a jab, Sakura goes for a heavy punch. And those last 4 rounds were so devastating. And even though the 12th and final round, William did try to give on some punching onto Sakura, but he just didn't want to go for knockouts. He was just going for a barrage of punches. And yeah, the final 4 rounds were ridiculous. And technically, Shakur Stevenson did do a good job. So all in all, guys, was this match boring? Well, it's far better than some of the fights in 2024 or 2023. So at least they did give a good job for Shakur Stevenson. I had the fight 116 to 112. But Mike and Glenn Feldman had it 118 to 110. Kevin Morgan, 119 to 109. I don't know. The judging scores are questioned, but at the end of the day, 116 to 112, 8 rounds to 4. It's at that moment, Shakur did win the fight easily, and there were a couple rounds that you would say there were some rounds that were evenly close for anyone to win. So who knows? So at the end of the day, I think for all due respect, considering Shakur Stevenson is number 1 in the lightweight, surpassing Gervonta Tank Davis right now at pound for pound, which in hindsight, he kind of deserves it. He deserves to be number 1 there because he earned the fight. He won the fight deservingly. And there was nothing controversial about the fight except David Morrell and his fight. But there's nothing else controversial about anything that night. There were a couple great knockout victories from the Japanese fighter and our good Hansa Shiraz fight. Matthias becomes a 2-time champion, the super lightweight, and that's about it. So this night was a little bit more calm and collective than I would have ever expected. So it won out many of the hearts. By the way, guys, before ending this podcast in just a couple more minutes, I'd like to point out, I forgot to point this out. On June the 28th, Floyd Schofield defeated Tevin Farmer, even after he knocked down Tevin Farmer twice in the first round, to give himself a 19 wins and 13 knockouts, and he's number 8 in the ranks. Floyd Schofield III is already picked up a great win, but are we going to see him and Shakur Stevenson fight? Well, I think it's probably for the better to just let him relax and calm down for a moment, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when the time goes on. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have to say about this entire podcast. Next time, guys, well, technically as this video is uploaded, because next time I will take it easy. Because in the next couple days, ladies and gentlemen, on the 18th, my next Mr. GLOAT podcast episode will be Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois 2. Are we going to get a rendition just like how Shakur Stevenson dominated William Zepeda in the last 4 rounds? Going to be similar than how Alexander Usyk did the same thing to AJ twice in the last few rounds? Well, that's going to be interesting. I am going to pull out my predictions and see what we have to get ourselves into because, guys, there is a few topics I want to talk about in my next episode. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Guys. Guys, I forgot to point out to talk about the rankings because I forgot. Oh, wait, did the rankings come out? Oh, the rankings came out. So on July the 14th, the WBC and the IBF just updated their top 15 rankings of all boxing. Guys, I'm gonna have to do that next time after the Alexander Usyk and Dan Dubois 2 predictions. So I'm gonna do that next time. That's gonna be one of my couple predictions. I'll do it quickly as I can, and we'll see what happens. So with that being said, thank you for watching this episode. Sorry that I forgot about that, but hey, it is what it is. And I will talk about a NASCAR thing, but that'll be next time. So with that being said, Foxwolf, out.